Judge Judy had heard excuses, insults, and outrageous claims for decades, but she had never seen someone interrupt quite like the woman standing before her that morning. "I don't have to listen to you." The defendant snapped before Judge Judy could finish her first sentence. "You're making assumptions because you already picked a side." A ripple of disbelief spread across the courtroom. The bailiff instinctively shifted closer to the defendant's table. The plaintiff stared in stunned silence. The audience leaned forward, and then something unusual happened. Judge Judy didn't interrupt her back. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't threaten contempt. She simply folded her hands and watched. 7 long seconds passed. The defendant, Jennifer Lawson, mistook that silence for victory. She kept talking. She interrupted the plaintiff. She interrupted her own attorney. She even interrupted the court reporter, forcing the woman to stop typing. Pay close attention to what happens next, because those interruptions weren't simply rude. They became the very reason Jennifer lost control of the courtroom. Sometimes the fastest way to expose arrogance is to give it enough room to reveal itself. Before this story goes any further, make sure you're subscribed for more unforgettable courtroom stories like this. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. And let us know in the comments where you're watching from, because this hearing is about to take a turn no one inside that courtroom expected. At first glance, the lawsuit appeared simple. A dispute over a custom furniture contract. The plaintiff, Michael Harper, claimed he had hired Jennifer's luxury interior design company to furnish the reading room in his late father's historic home. Jennifer insisted she had fulfilled every obligation. According to her, Michael simply refused to pay the final invoice after changing his mind. On paper, it looked like another business disagreement. But Judge Judy had already noticed something the documents couldn't explain. Michael never once interrupted anyone. Even while Jennifer repeatedly accused him of lying, exaggerating, and wasting the court's time, he remained silent. His hands rested quietly on an old wooden box sitting beside his chair. It wasn't expensive. The varnish had faded years ago. The brass latch showed tiny scratches from decades of use. Judge Judy glanced at it twice before the hearing officially began. Objects carried into court usually mean something. People don't protect meaningless things with both hands. Jennifer noticed the box too. She laughed. "What's in there?" she asked sarcastically. "More fake evidence." Michael didn't answer. Judge Judy noticed that innocent people often conserve their words. People performing confidence rarely know when to stop talking. Jennifer continued speaking over everyone. Every answer became a speech. Every question became an argument. Every interruption made the courtroom more uncomfortable. Her attorney, Daniel Brooks, quietly whispered several times for her to let him answer. She ignored him. "No one knows this business better than I do," Jennifer declared. "I don't need someone else speaking for me." Judge Judy calmly wrote a single note on the legal pad in front of her. She never explained what she had written. The courtroom remained tense. Michael finally looked toward Judge Judy. There was disappointment in his expression, but not anger. That detail mattered. People seeking revenge often arrive emotionally prepared for battle. People seeking justice usually arrive hoping someone will simply listen. Judge Judy looked from Michael to the old wooden box, then back to Jennifer. She had already identified the pattern. Jennifer believed volume created credibility. She had no idea every interruption was quietly building the trap that would soon close around her. Then, just as Jennifer began talking over the plaintiff once again, Judge Judy slowly lifted her eyes. The entire courtroom fell silent. No one knew it yet, but the next 7 words Judge Judy spoke would instantly end the argument and change the direction of the entire case. Judge Judy waited until the courtroom became completely silent. Then she spoke exactly 7 words. "Stop talking. Now let the truth speak. No shouting, no threats, no dramatic gestures." Just 7 calm words delivered with the confidence of someone who understood that authority never has to compete with noise. Jennifer Lawson blinked. For the first time since entering the courtroom, she didn't immediately have a response. The silence that followed felt heavier than every interruption she had made during the last 20 minutes. Experienced judges understand something many people never learn. The loudest person in the room is rarely the one in control. Judge Judy turned toward Michael Harper. "Mr. Harper," she said evenly, "you've been interrupted several times. This time, you'll finish your answer." Michael nodded. "Thank you, Your Honor." He rested one hand on the old wooden box. His fingers lingered on the worn brass latch before he finally opened it. Jennifer laughed under her breath. "I knew it." Another emotional prop. Judge Judy didn't even glance in her direction. She was watching Michael. People who fabricate stories often rush to impress. People carrying painful memories usually hesitate before opening them. Inside the box wasn't cash. It wasn't jewelry. It wasn't a stack of legal documents. It was a collection of carefully wrapped handwritten index cards. Beneath them rested an old fountain pen. The pen had scratches along its silver clip from decades of use. Michael lifted it gently. "My father used this every evening." The courtroom grew noticeably quieter. He built furniture by hand. He designed every piece with this pen before he ever picked up a tool. Judge Judy looked toward the contract. "So this wasn't just another customer order." Michael shook his head. "No. It was the last room my father ever planned." The narrator understood what most people in the gallery were only beginning to realize. This case wasn't really about an unpaid invoice. It was about a promise left unfinished. After Michael's father passed away unexpectedly, Michael decided to complete the reading room exactly as his father had imagined it. He hired Jennifer's company because they advertised themselves as specialists in restoring historic homes with exceptional craftsmanship. "They promised," Michael said quietly, "that every detail would honor my father's design." He paused before continuing. "I believed them." Real disappointment rarely sounds dramatic, it sounds tired. Judge Judy noticed something else. Michael never exaggerated. He never added unnecessary emotion. He answered only the questions asked. That consistency mattered. Jennifer suddenly leaned forward. "That's irrelevant." "My company delivered custom furniture exactly as ordered." Judge Judy slowly turned her head. "Miss Lawson." Jennifer stopped. "I've already asked you to let him finish." The defendant leaned back in her chair, visibly frustrated. Her attorney whispered another warning. This time she remained silent. But only barely. Michael carefully removed the stack of handwritten cards from the wooden box. Each card contained measurements, sketches, wood types, personal notes. Judge Judy accepted the first card. In the upper corner, written in faded blue ink, were the words, "For Emily." "A room where every book feels like home." Judge Judy looked up. "Who's Emily?" "My daughter." Michael smiled faintly. "My father never got to build the room before he passed away." The courtroom became still. This was no longer simply about furniture. It was about preserving a family's final gift across 3 generations. Sometimes people fight over contracts. Sometimes they're fighting to protect the last dream someone they loved never got to finish. Jennifer sighed impatiently. "It's a business transaction." Judge Judy looked directly at her. "No, it's becoming something much larger." The narrator watched Jennifer carefully. She still believed sentiment could never overcome business records. She assumed emotions were all Michael had. She had no idea that the old wooden box contained only the beginning of his evidence. Beneath the handwritten design cards lay a sealed envelope. Judge Judy noticed the date written across the front. It matched the week Jennifer's company first entered the Harper home. She looked back at Michael. "Mr. Harper, what's inside that envelope?" Michael took a slow breath. "I hoped I would never have to open it." Judge Judy nodded. "Today, I think you do." The sealed envelope rested on the bench between Judge Judy and Michael Harper. For several seconds, no one moved. Jennifer Lawson watched with folded arms, forcing a smile that no longer looked as convincing as it had when the hearing began. She leaned toward her attorney and whispered, "It's probably another letter." Daniel Brooks didn't answer. He had stopped making predictions. Experienced trial attorneys understand that confidence usually disappears right before unexpected evidence appears. Judge Judy looked at Michael. "You said you hoped you'd never have to open this." Michael nodded. "I did. Why? Because once I do, there's no pretending this was just a misunderstanding anymore." The courtroom grew even quieter. Judge Judy slowly handed the envelope back to him. "Go ahead." Michael carefully broke the seal. Inside wasn't a lawsuit. It wasn't another invoice. It wasn't a demand letter. It was a stack of printed text messages. Judge Judy accepted the first page. The messages had been exchanged between Jennifer Lawson and Michael during the renovation. At first, everything appeared professional. Updates, delivery schedules, material selections. Then the tone changed. Michael pointed to one message highlighted in yellow. This was 3 days before the furniture arrived. Judge Judy read it silently. Michael, "Can you confirm the walnut shelves will match my father's original design?" "That's the most important part of the room, Jennifer." "Absolutely. I personally guaranteed it." Judge Judy looked up. "You personally guaranteed it?" Jennifer answered immediately. "Based on the information available at the time." Judge Judy made no comment. She continued reading. A second highlighted exchange appeared. Michael, "The craftsman said the original plans weren't followed. Is that true?" Jennifer, "Don't listen to employees. They don't know the full project." Judge Judy's eyes narrowed slightly. "Interesting." Jennifer shifted in her chair. "They misunderstood company procedures." The judge kept reading. Then she reached the final highlighted message. The courtroom couldn't see it. Only Judge Judy could. She read it twice before placing the page flat on the bench. People who rehearse lies often forget about yesterday's conversations. Written words have excellent memories. Judge Judy finally looked directly at Jennifer. "Mrs. Lawson, did you personally review Mr. Harper's father's design sketches?" Jennifer answered without hesitation. "Yes, every one of them." Judge Judy nodded slowly. "And you're certain about that?" "Absolutely." The answer came too quickly, too confidently. The narrator noticed Judge Judy write another short note on her legal pad. She wasn't writing because she doubted Michael. She was recording the exact moment Jennifer committed herself to a version of events that could no longer be changed. The smartest trap questions don't feel dangerous. They feel ordinary. Michael quietly reached back into the wooden box. This time he removed a rolled blueprint tied together with a faded leather string. Judge Judy immediately recognized the aging paper. It wasn't a modern print. It was an original hand-drawn plan, carefully preserved. Michael gently unrolled it across the evidence table. The reading room appeared in remarkable detail: every cabinet, every bookshelf, every window, every measurement. And in the lower right corner sat his father's unmistakable signature. Jennifer glanced at it for barely a second. "I've already seen those." Judge Judy didn't take her eyes off the blueprint. "Have you?" Jennifer answered confidently. "Yes." Judge Judy's voice remained perfectly calm. "Then perhaps you can explain something." She pointed toward a handwritten note near the bottom of the drawing. "This notation specifies white oak." She slowly moved her finger to photographs of the completed installation. "The room your company delivered uses stained maple." Jennifer's confident expression flickered. Only for an instant. But Judge Judy noticed. So did the courtroom. People who tell the truth usually welcome details. People hiding the truth often fear them. Jennifer cleared her throat. "Material substitutions happen in construction." Judge Judy nodded. "They certainly can, with written approval." Silence. "Did you receive written approval?" Jennifer hesitated. "I don't remember." The courtroom felt the shift immediately. Only minutes earlier, she claimed to remember every detail perfectly. Now memory had suddenly become uncertain. Contradictions rarely arrive loudly. They arrive one answer at a time. Judge Judy folded the blueprint carefully. She looked toward the old wooden box once again. "Mr. Harper, you've brought this box into court very carefully. Is there another reason besides these documents? Michael took a slow breath. There is. Judge Judy leaned back. What haven't we seen yet? Michael looked at the box for several long seconds before answering. Something Jennifer insisted never existed. He reached inside one final compartment hidden beneath the handwritten design cards. His fingers closed around a small digital voice recorder. Jennifer's smile vanished completely. For the first time all morning, genuine panic crossed her face. Judge Judy noticed it before anyone else. She didn't say a word. She simply extended her hand. The courtroom understood. Whatever was stored on that recorder was no longer just evidence. It was about to determine who had been telling the truth from the very beginning. Judge Judy held out her hand. Michael Harper placed the small digital voice recorder into it without saying a word. The device looked ordinary. Its gray plastic casing showed years of wear, and one corner had been chipped, as though it had fallen onto a concrete floor long ago. Jennifer Lawson stared at it. For the first time since entering the courtroom, she looked genuinely unsettled. "What is that?" her attorney asked carefully. Judge Judy turned the recorder over in her hand. "I believe," she said calmly. "We're about to find out." The courtroom remained perfectly still. No one shuffled papers. No one whispered. Even the gallery seemed to understand that the next few moments would determine the outcome of the case. Judge Judy looked toward Michael. "When was this recording made?" "The afternoon Jennifer visited my house after I questioned the changes." Jennifer immediately stood. "Objection." There was no permission to record that conversation. Judge Judy raised one hand. "This is small claims court. I'll determine what weight, if any, the evidence deserves after I hear the circumstances." Jennifer slowly sat back down. She crossed her arms tightly across her chest. It was the first defensive posture Judge Judy had seen from her all morning. People who believe they're winning usually occupy space. People who fear what's coming often make themselves smaller without realizing it. Judge Judy handed the recorder to the court technician. "Please play the relevant portion." A soft click echoed through the courtroom. Static filled the speakers. Then came Michael's voice. "Jennifer, this isn't what your proposal promised." A pause. Then Jennifer's unmistakable voice answered. "Nobody compares the final work to blueprints." The courtroom listened carefully. Michael spoke again. "My father designed every shelf himself." Jennifer laughed. "Your father isn't the customer anymore." Several people in the gallery shifted uncomfortably. Judge Judy remained expressionless. The recording continued. Michael's voice sounded calm. "I just want the room completed the way we agreed." Jennifer sighed loudly. "Mr. Harper, sentimental stories don't pay contractors." The courtroom fell silent. Judge Judy glanced toward Jennifer. The defendant refused to make eye contact. The recording wasn't finished. Michael asked one final question. "So you're refusing to correct it?" Jennifer answered without hesitation. "Unless you pay for a completely new contract." Click. The recording ended. No one spoke. The silence that followed carried far more weight than the audio itself. Judge Judy folded her hands. "Ms. Lawson." Jennifer swallowed. "Yes, you've testified that Mr. Harper changed the project after completion. Yes. You've testified your company honored every design requirement. Yes." Judge Judy paused. "Your own recorded statements suggest something very different." Jennifer quickly shook her head. "That recording doesn't show the full conversation." Judge Judy nodded. "It rarely takes an entire conversation to reveal someone's intentions." The narrator watched Jennifer's attorney lower his head. He no longer looked like a lawyer preparing for victory. He looked like someone calculating damage. Before the truth goes any further, tell us in the comments. What do you think Judge Judy is about to discover next? And if you already feel where this case is heading, comment *justice below. Judge Judy wasn't finished. She reached for one final document resting beneath the blueprint. Unlike everything else, it had remained untouched. It was a single-page supplier invoice. Ordinary at first glance, but one section had been circled in red. Judge Judy studied it for several seconds. Then she looked directly at Jennifer. Ms. Lawson, you testified that premium white oak became unavailable, correct? Judge Judy slowly lifted the invoice. This supplier appears to disagree. Jennifer's eyes widened. Judge Judy continued. According to this document, the white oak arrived at your warehouse 4 days before installation. The courtroom seemed to stop breathing. Jennifer opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Judge Judy placed the invoice beside the contract, the text messages, the blueprint, and the recorder. Each piece had built upon the last. A contract established the promise. The messages established the guarantee. The recording revealed the attitude. Now the invoice threatened to expose the motive. Judge Judy leaned back in her chair. Mrs. Lawson, I have one final question. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But everyone in the courtroom understood its importance. If the materials were available, where did the white oak go? Jennifer's confident expression disappeared completely. Whatever answer she gave next would either save her business or destroy every defense she had built since walking into that courtroom. The question hung over the courtroom like a storm cloud. If the materials were available, where did the white oak go? Jennifer Lawson didn't answer, not immediately. Her lips parted, then closed again. She looked toward her attorney, searching for help that wasn't coming. Daniel Brooks slowly lowered his eyes. For the first time that morning, he remained completely silent. Judge Judy noticed, lawyers speak when facts are on their side. Silence often arrives when they know the evidence has already done its job. Jennifer finally cleared her throat. There were inventory issues. Judge Judy lifted the supplier invoice. The shipment was signed for. She turned another page. The delivery was confirmed. Another page. And according to your warehouse manager's signature, every piece was accounted for. Jennifer swallowed. I don't personally handle inventory. Judge Judy nodded. Interesting. She reached into the evidence packet one last time. This invoice came with something else. The courtroom leaned forward. Judge Judy unfolded a packing manifest. Each bundle of premium white oak carried a job code. One code matched Michael Harper's contract, but beside it, someone had handwritten another project number in blue ink. Judge Judy looked directly at Jennifer. Would you explain why Mr. Harper's materials were reassigned to another customer? Jennifer's face drained of color. No, that's... She stopped. For several seconds, no sound came from the defense table. The narrator watched the confidence leave her body almost visibly. People imagine that lies collapse dramatically. Most don't. They unravel quietly, one contradiction at a time. Judge Judy continued. The premium white oak was delivered. She tapped the manifest. It was paid for. She tapped the payment ledger, and it never reached Mr. Harper's home. She looked up, so I'll ask again. Where did it go? Jennifer exhaled slowly. It was used on another project. The courtroom erupted into shocked murmurs. The bailiff immediately called for order. Judge Judy remained perfectly calm. Why? Jennifer closed her eyes for a brief moment. The other client paid for an expedited completion, and I couldn't delay their schedule. Judge Judy folded her hands. So you substituted cheaper materials into Mr. Harper's project without telling him. Jennifer didn't answer. You accepted payment for premium materials. Silence. You installed lower-grade materials. Silence. You hoped he wouldn't notice. Jennifer whispered so quietly that only the nearest microphones captured it. Yes. The courtroom froze. No one expected the admission to come so plainly, Thomas Bennett. No, Michael Harper didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply looked down at the old wooden box that had belonged to his father. The room Judge Judy saw in that moment wasn't built from oak. It was built from trust. And trust had been replaced with convenience. Judge Judy turned to the supplier documents one final time. There is one more detail. She held up the final invoice. The premium white oak wasn't merely reassigned. She looked directly at Jennifer. It was installed in your company's showcase project. Jennifer slowly covered her face. The courtroom gasped. The photographs displayed beside the invoice showed the same wood featured in a luxury model home Jennifer had proudly advertised online just weeks earlier, the identical grain pattern, the identical shipment number. The identical delivery date. The evidence didn't merely expose negligence. It exposed a deliberate business decision. Michael had paid for materials used to impress someone else. Judge Judy looked toward him. Mr. Harper, yes, Your Honor. You weren't asking this court to recover lumber. He quietly shook his head. No, I wanted someone to admit what happened. Judge Judy gave the slightest nod. They just did. Jennifer attempted one final defense. I plan to replace it later. Judge Judy's expression never changed. But you didn't know. You never informed your client. No. And you billed him as though he'd received exactly what he purchased. Jennifer lowered her head. Yes, the courtroom didn't need another explanation. The truth had arrived, not through emotion. Not through accusation, through contracts, messages, recordings, invoices, and finally, Jennifer's own admission. Judge Judy slowly closed the evidence file. The court has heard enough. She looked toward the clerk. Prepare the judgment. The entire courtroom understood that only one thing remained, the verdict. And the sentence Judge Judy was about to deliver would ensure Jennifer Lawson never forgot the lesson she had tried so hard to interrupt. Judge Judy closed the evidence file and looked across the courtroom. For several long seconds, no one spoke. Jennifer Lawson remained seated, her shoulders slumped, staring at the documents that had dismantled every version of events she had presented. Sometimes the hardest part of losing a case isn't hearing the verdict. It's realizing you lost your credibility first. Judge Judy folded her hands. This case began as a disagreement over furniture. She paused. It ended as a lesson about honesty. The courtroom remained completely silent. You accepted payment for premium materials. Judge Judy tapped the signed contract. You assured your client those materials would be used. She tapped the text messages. You dismissed his concerns when he questioned the work. She nodded toward the audio recording. And today, she rested her hand on the supplier invoice. You admitted those materials were intentionally redirected to another project. Jennifer lowered her eyes. There was nothing left to dispute. No explanation could erase her own words. Judge Judy turned toward Michael Harper. Mr. Harper. Yes, Your Honor. The evidence overwhelmingly supports your claim. A quiet breath escaped Michael's lips. Judge Judy continued. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. The gallery remained silent, listening carefully. Mrs. Lawson is ordered to reimburse Mr. Harper for the full value of the premium materials he paid for but never received, together with the reasonable cost of replacing the substituted materials and correcting the work necessary to match the original agreement. Jennifer closed her eyes. Judge Judy wasn't finished. The evidence also demonstrates intentional misrepresentation after payment was accepted. She looked toward the clerk. A certified copy of today's record shall be made available to the appropriate consumer protection and contractor licensing authorities for whatever review they determine appropriate. Jennifer's attorney slowly nodded. He understood the significance immediately. The financial judgment would be costly, but the regulatory review could affect Jennifer's professional reputation far beyond this single case. Judge Judy leaned forward slightly. Then she looked directly at Jennifer. You spent this entire hearing interrupting everyone. Jennifer remained silent. You interrupted the plaintiff. You interrupted your attorney. You interrupted this court. Another pause. But there's one thing you could never interrupt. The courtroom waited. The truth. The single word settled over the room with unmistakable finality. Judge Judy continued in the same calm voice. Respect isn't measured by how often you speak. It's measured by whether your words remain believable after the evidence arrives. No one moved, no one whispered. The courtroom was completely still. Michael quietly picked up the old wooden box. He carefully placed the fountain pen back inside, followed by his father's handwritten design cards. Finally, he rolled the blueprint, tied it with the faded leather string, and closed the brass latch. Judge Judy noticed every movement. Those weren't just documents. They were a family's history. For a brief moment, Michael rested his hand on the lid of the box. "My father used to say," he said softly, "good craftsmanship is doing the right thing even where nobody will ever look." Judge Judy smiled faintly. "He sounds like a wise man." He was. The narrator reflected on what followed after the hearing. Within weeks, Michael hired a local master carpenter who specialized in restoring historic homes, using the original blueprints and the handwritten notes preserved inside the wooden box. The reading room was finally completed exactly as Michael's father had envisioned years earlier. Every shelf matched the original measurements. Every cabinet reflected the design drawn with the old fountain pen. When the room was finished, the very first book Michael placed on the center shelf was his father's favorite novel, not because it was valuable, because it belonged there. As for Jennifer Lawson, the judgment became a reminder that success built on appearances can disappear far more quickly than success built on integrity. Businesses recover from mistakes. They rarely recover from broken trust. The narrator offered one final thought. Many people believe arguments are won by speaking louder. They're not. They're won by facts that continue speaking long after the arguments end. And on that unforgettable day, Judge Judy needed only 7 simple words to restore order to the courtroom. Stop talking. Now let the truth speak. Those words ended the argument. The evidence finished the case. If you enjoyed this courtroom story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more unforgettable cases. And tell us in the comments, at what moment did you realize Jennifer had already lost?